Like, we were the binge drinking kind of generation where we grew up drinking early. Like, I think my first drink was like 16 maybe. Then going to college and like kind of going off the rails, right? Binge drinking because everybody was. It's designed to get you addicted. It was never meant to be moderated. Sure, it was fun until I had so much to lose to it. And that question mark that it used to bring that was like exciting in my 20s now was like very threatening.
I think in our lives, you
Yeah.
kind of have to break some of the habits you build as you get older. I would never
Oof.
want anyone to look back at me at 18 to 22 and, like, evaluate who I am as a human today. It would be an
Um,
awful, feeling because, you work so hard to get better.
oh my God, are you kidding me? Like from yeah, this is kind of what I think about with alcohol and with drinking and the way I talk about drinking is that I outgrew it. And in saying that, it is a looking back and saying like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad there wasn't social media. I'm so glad it's not documented. I don't remember half of it, right? Like I was definitely the party girl." And yeah, that that was something that I don't want to return to ever. And then also, you know, I've been thinking a lot about that version of me and there could be some regret, right? Of like, "Oh, why didn't I?" For me, it's generally about sobriety. Why didn't I quit drinking earlier? What could have, I wish I would have or whatever. And instead of thinking like that, I've been lately really like bringing her along and inviting her in and kind of like a different person because she was, right? And saying like, "Hey," and really like imagining me as like a 20-year-old and drinking to numb and escape and losing myself in boys and booze and all of that stuff and trying to find my worth there and trying to feel valued in all the wrong places and then inviting her in and being like, "Hey, just come along because I want you to go on this book tour with me. I want you to sit right here in my closet as we connect with women, from all over the world and we talk about our shame and all of that stuff." So I've been that gets me.
Well,
Like
I think it's supposed to, but
yeah.
I always like to look at it as I wouldn't be where I'm at today without that version of myself.
Yeah.
So, without those failures, I mean, I look at my wife and I who started dating pretty early on, and I look at the relationships I had prior to that and the failures and,
Yes.
and how challenging that growth was
Mm,
and watching yourself just blow up in certain ways that aren't good, and,
yeah.
I too definitely which I think is a great shift in our culture, but I too was drinking very heavily early on in my life, like, super early, like, I remember having 40s of alcohol in the cooler after soccer games in high school
Yes.
where we had a game we would play, and if whoever 5 of us, whoever scored a goal would have, like, they'd have to buy you one, and so you would buy them. 'Em, you'd have them there, and then everybody would pay each other at the end, and we were
Isn't
16.
that that is
I mean,
wild. Like, the '90s were wild.
there because we were let go. I think the thing that
Yeah.
people don't understand, and we are not these kind and our parents my parents were good parents.
Yeah.
But I made good grades. I had a job. I did all the right things. They had as long as I did those things, I had complete freedom,
Oh,
and
totally. And also they didn't know like, they just didn't know about alcohol the way we do today, right? Like, it wasn't a conversation. It was, "This is your brain on drugs," which is why I can't fry an egg without thinking about that, and also why I never got into drugs. Like, I was like, "Okay, drugs and guns, get it, like, that's gonna be a no-go for me. Alcohol, obviously green light, like, fine." And yeah, the way that we talk about alcohol today, and that's what I try to do, like, in the book and on the podcast, is it's like, no, let's actually just go back and, like, figure out this thing that has been in our lives for decades. You said you're 47.
Yep.
I'm 45. Like, we were the binge drinking kind of generation where we grew up drinking early. Like, I think my first drink was like 16 maybe. And then going to college and like kind of going off the rails, right? Binge drinking because everybody was. So it wasn't like, you know, rehab or anything like that. It's like, no, this is just like I go to Wisconsin Green Bay. Like, this is how we party, like, this is what we do. And then I've seen, and this was definitely my stories as we get older, really assuming that alcohol still qualifies to be in our life. And like, we still have to just make it work, but now we have to drink it better, right? And so then we got to drink like classy, like we got to class it up with some red wine. Really not knowing that it's exactly the same thing. It's designed to get you addicted. It was never meant to be moderated. And we take the blame when the alcohol does its alcohol thing, and we just say like, "Oh, it's because I didn't drink enough water." Like, I didn't drink water in between. Or like, "Man, I should have had bread," you know? And instead of saying like, "Oh, wait, this thing that kind of like it did serve me for a while. I wasn't a lunatic. Like, sure, it was fun until, right? Until I had so much to lose to it." And that question mark that it used to bring that was, like, exciting in my 20s now was, like, very threatening. And I think we've been taught that we have to, like, wait until we lose what? And I just found myself looking around at my, like, full life. When I was 39, I quit drinking 5.5 years ago, and I was like, "But what am I willing to lose? Like, what am I waiting for?" Because I'm kind of not willing to lose anything to this. And so I think um, yeah, switching it up, and we're definitely talking about alcohol differently now than our parents did, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I grew up in a family where, my grandfather was an alcoholic. So
Hmm,
my dad grew up in a little bit more chaos, a
yeah,
lot of chaos, and not a lot of financial, benefit, super poor, in an environment where he wanted to get out immediately as turning 18. And so I was coming from an environment where my dad knew if there were beers in the fridge, like, he knew exactly how many there were. All of his friends would party hard, but he hardly ever had more than 1 or
yeah,
2 at the most, and that was almost something that I didn't even see him do. He didn't drink at home.
mhm,
And my mom had a beer or 2 here and there too, but it wasn't a part of our life. And then when I turned 15, 16 years old, it was the opposite. It was almost like I went heavy into this environment. I actually dialed down when I got to college because it was
you
almost like I
did?
did I did something completely. I was so afraid of not making it and blowing up my life, and I would do these things where I'd get super guilty. I would make a
Yeah,
I would say something I didn't wanna say or get
yeah,
in an argument with somebody that I didn't wanna argue about, and you knew it's the alcohol, but you also, I would, like, completely cut it off for, like, 2 weeks and be like, "Alright, well, if
yes,
I could cut it off for 2 weeks, I'm fine," and
right,
so and I really I was fine. I always had a very, um, I was blessed to not have fallen into an environment where I was losing control,
yeah,
and my drive for success was stronger. That addiction was probably stronger than any other addiction, so it really kept us at bay, and
yeah,
what happens is, what I've seen you talk about, is you do get older and you have no interest in binging in any capacity, but even when you have a couple, you start to recognize that the body and you wear a Whoop,
oof,
and all this Whoop does is tell you that, every time you have
yes,
any alcohol, your body is rejecting it, and so there's definitely the it's a great conversation shift, and that's why your book is coming out. It's almost out, right? Or is it
yeah, it's out
September?
September 30th.
Okay, I knew it was close. Sober shift, right? The
Yes,
sober shift, and so it's why so many people are doing this, but to our conversation point, my children are so the opposite.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and their friends are less interested. Now,
Yeah.
I have 2 athletes, one's a Division I college athlete, the other is literally moved away from home at 14 to play soccer, so they're very driven, but my son called me last year, his freshman year, he goes, "Dad, I swear, I know why kids drink so much in college.
Mm.
There's nothing to do, like, I have something scheduled every second of every day. I am busy from 7
Yeah.
in the morning till 9 p.m. What is everybody else doing?" And I
Yeah.
remember going, "They're drinking and partying, right?" And he
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, they really are."
Yeah,
So
it's so true I'm often asked like, "Okay, but how do we talk to our kids about alcohol?" And like, what when does this conversation start? And it is more, kids, it's not so much what we say, it's what we do, right? And like, I can't hear what you're saying because what you're doing is so loud. And so if we're kind of telling our kids, um not to drink and then we're drinking, right? They're just like, "Okay, this doesn't make any sense." But I think more than that, my kids, something happens when you take alcohol away, and that is feelings come to the forefront, right? And we allow ourselves to feel feelings, and one of those feelings is boredom, right? And so being able, I think it's a skill that, I mean, I'm trying, and screens get in there too, and that's like, that's a whole other conversation. But I want my kids to be bored. I think being bored is like the pathway to creativity. We don't create anything when we're just like, constantly consuming. We have a rule in our house like you can be on the screen as long as you want, as long as you're creating and not consuming. Because something happens to our mental health when we create, right? We feel good about ourselves versus when we consume. And so I think just, but first, allowing ourselves to feel the feelings of boredom, because generally adults aren't good at being bored either, or scared, or anxious, or like social anxiety, frustration, disappointed, misunderstood, all of these feelings that come up in sobriety. That is like, I think if my kids are taking anything from me about sobriety, it's just kind of watching me feel feelings and being okay through them. Like actually crying. I lost my dad like just over a year into my sobriety, and it was a kind of tragic loss. And like I didn't shelter them from that. Like I wanted them, it was okay if they saw me on my knees crying and destroyed by this love, right? And so I think we've sheltered our kids a lot in trying to protect them, and it's probably doing them a disservice.
I think you bring up a great point. There's a couple of them, but, you know, the alcohol is obviously a numbing
Yeah.
of attaching to those feelings, and so I fully understand that. With the kids and the feeling, the interesting thing is I think our imperfections are what help our kids be better than
Yes.
us, and so,
Yes.
I all that sometimes my son will say, "Dad, why did you react like that?" And I'll say, "You know what? I'm not proud that I reacted that way, but
Yes.
the reality is, like, I'm not gonna do that when I'm that age or whatever," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I hope you don't, because
Yeah.
I'm imperfect, and every once in a while, these are the things that pop out, and,
Yes.
or I'm passionate about something, or you don't understand what's really behind that concern." But I still remember watching my dad. I never saw my dad upset, but when
Mm.
his mom's only sister passed away, I remember seeing my dad have tears come down his eyes. I mean, I had never seen that.
Mm.
And then I remember, maybe one other time when his mom died, and when you see those things, it humanizes your
Yeah.
parents because it also that helps you connect to them.
Yeah.
If they are superheroes that you can never attain,
Yeah.
then you actually feel empty and lost and worse.
And
So
like not worthy or something,
right.
and that's the standard, right? Like if you're perfect, I have to be perfect. And what's wrong with me that I'm not perfect because no one is. there's just such, my friend Courtney, who's a therapist, which is amazing to have a good friend as a therapist because, like, or no, to have a therapist as a good friend. My mom is
Yeah,
also a therapist. It's different. Um, but it's like a constant cycle of rupture and repair, right? And like allowing your kids to see you struggle and then figure it out and then rise. Um, I don't know what could set them up better for success rather than like kind of hiding that and then saying like, well, this is obviously the goal is just never fail or never, then they're just not going to try, right? Because why would I try if I don't know for certain I can do this thing? Um, I'm not going to try. And oh, that just hurts my heart.
yeah, it's worse. It's
Yeah,
well,
it's
it's
so much
also
worse.
the sheltering. I
Yeah.
think this is a major that I think that a lot of the parents from our generation, waited to have children, first
Yeah.
of all, and
Mhm.
so they're more mature, and, I did not. So mine came out, and they got all the good stuff and the bad stuff and
Yep.
the early, like, figuring it out stuff, and, in some ways, it really worked, and in others, there's things that we could have done better. But as a parent today, one thing I'm very grateful of is that we didn't shelter them. When we had
Yes.
tough conversations or when somebody passed away or we were in a position where we were, um, challenged or a family member were challenged, we openly talked about that stuff.
Yeah.
And our generation grew up sheltered in a different way. I think the '90s, our parents didn't talk about money. My parent they
Bu
like,
they
you
didn't
couldn't even
talk
ask
to
them. They
no.
didn't talk to us.
No, they didn't talk to my brother and I always joke that we were just like latchkey kids because we were. And, yeah, are you kidding me? My parents didn't know where I was half the time and what I was up to. Do you remember that commercial? Like, "It's 10 PM. Do you know where your children are?" Do you remember that on
I
the
do,
TV?
yes.
There was actually like a PSA for parents to be like for the TV had to remind the parents like, "Hey, dude, you have children. Like, just make sure they're home or something." Like, no. We have completely pivoted. Like, the pendulum has swung, I think, to, like I don't are you seeing these studies? Is it Jonathan Haidt or some who's, like, the, anxious generation
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and just how much something like you guys, I'm gonna get these numbers wrong because 'cause I'm not a numbers
Well,
girl,
it's
but,
not
like
supposed to be perfect, it's just a conversation anyway.
yeah, but, like, 60% or something of kids have never, like, walked alone outside without their parents, like, walked to the park, walked to school. Like, 60% have never walked down a grocery store aisle by themselves. Like, and yet they have kind of free reign on
On the
screens.
internet,
Yes, which is way more terrifying. Like,
that
are you
it's
kidding?
unreal, it's unreal,
Oh
but
my
but
god.
see, that's the hard it's almost like where it's a very unique thing because, again, they were faster and better than we were at the
Yes.
technology,
Yes.
and so there's a generation that knows it better than you,
Yeah.
and, I mean, growing up, it's funny, I don't remember the exact time, but I wanna say around 11 or 12. My mom listens to this podcast every single time, so she'll correct
Oh,
me, I'm sure.
my mom will probably listen to this one too. She's like, "Which one were you on today?" Like, yes.
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
moms. Hi,
Yeah,
moms.
it's great. I found that it's the best way for my mom to listen to me, so,
Yes.
it's
Same.
a great
Same.
thing. She fully listens to me, and I appreciate that, and,
So
I
funny.
don't feel that very often, so it's really nice when she listens. So, mom, that's a loving,
Oh, we
compliment.
love you, mom.
No, but the joke is, I remember at, like, 11 or 12, my sister and I, which makes her 2 years younger, so 9 or 10,
Yeah.
we'd scratch up we would run around the house finding as much change as we possibly
Oh,
could
yeah. Uh-huh.
from any nook, cranny, couch. I mean,
Couch.
we'd be like, "Oh
Yes.
my god, we have enough for french fries at Arby's," and we would
Amazing.
we would go ride our bikes
Mhm.
to Arby's
Mhm.
and, sit at the place, eat by ourselves. Like, could
Yeah.
you imagine 2 11 and 9-year-old kids sitting in an Arby's today by themselves? How many people would call social services?
Right? No, it's insane. I let my kids I'm like, "Go." Like, just like, "Go." Oh, I used to my brother and I would yeah. around the same ages, like probably 8 and 10, 9 and 11, we would go, ride our bikes to the gas station and get those cigarettes that were gum, but,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
and then they puffed
You
at
just
the
held them. You
end.
just held
Yeah,
them in your hand the whole time and
totally.
rode your
Oh,
bike.
we're roading yeah, no one called. They were like, "Hey, those kids look like they're having fun smoking cigarettes on their bikes," Like, no one cared.
The ice cream man used to sell fake cigarettes. You would go to the ice cream man, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'll take a pack of Marlboro, and then I'll also get
All of
an
the
ice cream sandwich." Like, d remember
That's
this?
yes,
It was
yes.
the whole world shifted, and
Oh,
I think that to some extent there is a great happy median in between that,
yeah,
and so I'm grateful, all jokes aside, like, I'm so grateful that I had great parents who loved
yeah,
me and who provided me the guidance in the timeline that it was the right time. Like, we can look at a lot of things in history and we can go back and we can say, "I can't believe people did that," but I
yeah,
like to look at it and say, "We are where we are because they were just like us doing the best job they could possibly
totally.
do at the time."
And
And,
human, right?
we're winning because of it. I mean, if anybody has clout, our parents can literally be like, "Hey, check my kid out. Check
Okay,
check check Suzanne out. She's
yes.
crushing it."
Don't you think this is like a Gen X thing? I am like, okay, I was
We're
born
on
in
the
19
border. We're on the
okay,
border.
I am so not on the border though. Neither are you, I feel like. I already know you, and while we might be on the border, because 'cause I'm 1980, so I could either be the eldest millennial. I can't even say it. I
Yeah, I know.
gross, I can't. Or a baby Gen Xer, and I am a baby Gen Xer through and through. And Gen X, like we are the forgotten generation, right? Like everyone, like literally, like we're never on lists or anything, but we kind of just like get it done, and we're like nose to the grindstone. We're very hardworking. We grew up kind of knowing life is gonna be tough. It's not gonna work. We saw the Challenger blow up, right? And then in our
In class,
childhood
in
yeah,
class,
in class, and that kind of
and
informed
nobody and
stuff.
and nobody even talked about
No,
it
there was
during
no follow-up. There was no, like, "How do you feel?" Are you kidding? No. It was just like, "Alright, well, they're gone. Okay, next subject,"
Yep.
and we were like, "Okay." Yeah, we were in when it was September 11th, like, college, we were just or entering the workforce, like, we yeah, I think there's a Gen X my brother and I talk about we're obsessed with Gen X because
How
it
old is
is
your
a
brother? Is your brother older?
yeah,
Younger?
he's 3 years older. So
Okay, so
he's
you and
40
your brother are similar to my sister and I. So I'm
yeah.
78, she's 80.
Okay,
And
yeah,
then I
yeah.
have a younger brother who's 33. And so
Oh,
all
yeah.
same parents, but just, didn't happen until for almost 13 and a half years later.
And he's
So
like
we are completely like, he leans more towards our generational style because how he was raised.
yep,
But he definitely we get to see the differences. They
yeah,
definitely tend to be more feeling, more kind in ways that, like,
yeah,
we initially, like, have to be
yeah.
on reserve a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
we're not generally gonna be touchy-feely. We're generally gonna be like, "Just give it to us straight,"
we
you
get
know?
better as we get older, but the point is,
Yeah,
I think that 77 to 82 timeline,
yeah.
we literally grew up I got to college and it was intro to email. It was a DOS-based
Yes.
I took a class called
Yes.
Intro to Email, and
Yes.
then by the time I graduated, we could plug into a wall anywhere on the campus and have
Right.
complete internet.
Right.
And it was so fast. It's kind of what kids are doing right now with AI, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
generation I think my children right now are the first generation where any question you want answered can essentially be answered at the drop of a hat,
That's
and
wild.
you can build a business in 30 seconds. I mean, there's
Yes.
things that we
Yeah.
could never have dreamed of, but we've kinda been along for the ride.
Totally. Well,
A
yeah, because our childhood was device free, right? Like we were just like
Go outside
just
and play.
yeah,
Go
go
outside and
outside
play.
and play, which we had to then get creative. That's why we're entrepreneurs. Like we had to be like, all right, what are we gonna create when we're bored, right? And then play an Oregon Trail. right? Like, being like, "All right, like, I died of diphtheria or whatever it is on the way to whatever."
Yeah,
And
where in the
then
world is Carmen Sandiego? I don't
yes,
know.
where in the world? Yes. Oh, I even played, like, Family Feud. I remember I used to
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that Family
There
Feud
were
one.
only 4 games, we
Yeah.
played all of them. There
We
were
played
literally 4 computer games, we
and
played
it was
all
the
of them.
green, like,
We
yes.
got a computer for Christmas, it was the only thing we got, and we thought it was the shittiest Christmas ever because we're
Yes.
like, "What do we do with this thing?"
You're like,
And
"This is useless."
our parents went all out for it, like, to think about what they had to
Yes.
do to
Oh,
get that in the
yes.
house and
Yes.
how expensive that was
And it
and
was, like, in the in a family, like, shared space,
the
right?
open space, yeah,
Yes, the
right
open space.
downstairs in the open space,
Yes,
yes.
yes. Oh my god. Yeah. No, Gen X, we're special, I think. Like
Well, we're the binders between generations. So the
yeah.
one thing that it's funny because in my career, it when it started, boomers were in every major role. So any Gen Xer that
Yes.
started, you were a rookie for a decade
Well,
because
yeah, because
boomers
boomers don't
outnumbered
wanna
you.
leave.
They never
Yes.
wanted to leave. So you
No.
were never going to get an option to have a job. You were literally the rookie for a decade. And
Yes.
and then you woke up and realized that you understood the generational differences that you have some relatability to millennials, even though the style of which they
Yeah.
delivered is very uniquely different.
Yeah.
But the boomers as well were completely different, but your parents were that, so you understood it, you
Yep.
related to it, and now we're like the alignment between the generations because
Yeah.
there's so few um, connectors that I find that so many Gen Xers are the connectors that are bridging company gaps. And
Yeah.
in the financial world, the average age of a financial advisor is 62 years old. So you've got
Wow.
65-year-olds training 22-year-olds like, I don't know why nobody stays in this business. Well, there's literally two
Right.
generation gaps between the training
Like, you're not
and
talking the same language.
no, it's night and day, and so
Yes.
if you can relate and understand and connect, I think we have a clear advantage because
Yeah.
we had the freedoms growing up, but it's also, um, it's still every once in a while, you find yourself where you're like, "What are they talking
I
about?
know.
Why are they so soft?" Like, these
Yes. I mean, that there is it's the grit, right? And that's what I think our kids aren't getting now. Like, if my kid forgets to take a water bottle to school, I'm expected to, like, go bring it to him, and I don't. And I'm like, "Dude, get a paper cup and drink. You're fine." I didn't drink water until I was
cup your
35
hands in
years
the sink.
old. Yeah, there's a thing called what we in Wisconsin called a bubbler. Like, you can drink out of that, right?
Until you
And
saw that one kid put his mouth right on it, and you
I
were like,
know,
"I can't drink
except
that
not
anymore."
after that kid, especially
Yeah,
if he's coughing.
the
Like,
gross kid.
oh, always. It was always the gross kid.
Yeah, because his parents just didn't tell him. If they didn't tell him to stop picking his nose and eating it, what are they gonna tell
Oh.
him to not put his mouth on the water fountain for?
Isn't that so sad too? Like, when you said picking his nose and eating it, my thought went immediately to that one kid, and it's
Mhm.
like he is forever that kid. I mean, he's a 45-year-old accountant right now, and he will forever be the kid who picked his nose and
Yeah,
ate
because
it.
his parents lied to him
Oh,
or didn't
yeah.
care enough about him to tell him
To
anything.
tell him.
Right.
They didn't even notice,
No one in our
probably.
generation would have ever gone on American Idol and tried to sing because our parents would have told us how bad we were right
Yes!
out of the gate.
Oh
That
god.
is the exact epitome when that show
Yes.
came out and everybody sucked. I remember going, "This would have never happened in our generation."
Never.
Nobody would have said, "You're great." It would have been like, "Oh my gosh,
Oh,
that
but, like,
kid stinks."
stop doing that, and, like, "Be quiet." Yeah, like,
Yeah.
"Stop singing." Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no singing at the table.
Ye
That's
yeah,
I thought
yes.
it was a joyful place, Dad. What are we doing?
Children should be seen and not heard.
Not heard. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I
yes.
think so when you think about it, what to tie this back to your sober shift, because
Yeah.
I think it's super valuable. I think that, we did numb a lot,
Yes.
and I think that we didn't have an outlet. You didn't come home my sons literally will talk to me, and they're sons, so I don't get a ton. You'll
Yeah,
see this one day. You might
yeah,
get more because you're mom, but they talk to me about things I would never talk to my dad about,
yeah.
and I'm so grateful for that, and I don't get all of it, but I get enough of it, and, and I want to be an outlet. I want my wisdom and experience and failures to guide them so that they don't have to go and numb themselves.
Yes.
And you know, and I have not made a sober shift, so the other side is I still have drinks and I haven't,
Yeah.
but I've gone, like I've done, like, months at a time, and I've done, like,
Yep.
Lent almost, you know, every couple of years, I give it up for 40 days,
Yeah.
and I do these things all the time, and it does change your life. So, there's 0 argument from anybody if
Yeah.
you actually try this, that it's life-changing and life-shifting.
Yeah.
But I think that our conversation about how we grew up also was, you know, a little bit of not, and our it's not like our parents had that outlet either. They were the World War II
Right.
generation raising them, so there was this
No.
disconnection where you had kids, you went to work, and you never asked your dad about the war.
Yeah,
And, you know, this
there was just no feelings, right? Like,
right,
this isn't the place to talk about your feelings don't matter. I'm definitely not gonna share mine. And that's where alcohol comes in handy, right? Like it did serve a purpose. I want you okay, cuz this is very interesting. My husband is like a financial guy, and when I quit drinking, he didn't, and I didn't ask him to, and I totally flipped the script on him because we drank together, not anything crazy, but dates and date nights, and definitely when we
you mean the what he would call the fun nights?
yeah,
What
yes, yes. The fun nights, right? And now he's like, "Wait." And when I quit drinking, everyone in my life drank. Like, I didn't know a single person who didn't drink. I'm from Wisconsin. I live in Chicago now, and, like, it's everyone drinks, right? I'm interested because I want you to read the book because my husband, okay, it was my husband, my mom, and my brother were kind of like my guinea pigs, and I didn't even know it. It was just like how I was influencing them in my sobriety. My brother quit drinking shortly after I did. He's been, like, sober for 4 years. My mom quit drinking after him, and now my husband's, like, a year and a half sober. And I didn't ask them to. I wasn't
right.
like, I wasn't like, "Okay, when are you gonna quit?" I never wanted to put them in a position to defend alcohol. I think that that was very important to me. Like, I'm not gonna question you on this thing unless you wanna talk to me about it. And I kinda let alcohol the natural consequences take over. I didn't have to say like, "Hey, don't you feel like crap after you drank?" Like, I didn't have to say that because I know he did. So, I'm interested. I think that this book I kind of put everything that I kind of used on them as far as influencing, like, really telling the truth about alcohol. We break it down in those first chapters, and then the second is, like, the building, and each chapter is a shift from kind of the old way of thinking about it, like anonymous, day 1, counting days, missing out, right?
Right.
2, like, being present and sober firsts and, um, proudly sober, no more anonymity, and really taking it like that drinking alcohol is not a privilege and living without it is not a punishment. Like that if there's one thing that I want people to come away with from this book is that it's like, oh man. And moderation is just hard.
Well, I think a couple things to that point. Number 1, I look forward to the book. Number 2, wearing this whoop has
Yeah.
changed it changes your relationship with alcohol very quickly because
Okay, tell me, like, what does it tell you?
so you get down to first of all, you can rationalize anything.
Yeah.
So wine crushes your sleep, like,
So
crushes
bad.
you. It's
Yes.
awful, and so if I have a glass of wine with dinner, no problem. It's
Yeah.
when you go to the 2nd glass of wine
Yeah.
that you see the sleep so your stress in the middle of the night
Yeah.
is like crazy town.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you're sleeping, it's you're the way the Whoop registers it, let's say that there's like a 2 is the highest stress level, you'll be between 1 and 2, as if you were in the most stressful part of your day.
Yes.
So all night you might get 4 hours of REM and deep sleep, but you didn't sleep well, and then you wake up and you're maybe a red recovery or a low yellow,
Yeah.
very rarely green, and if you're green, you know, that's like, okay, you can hit the full workout, you can press hard today, you can, you know, you're in a good spot. So you do start to adjust, even like, you know, I've heard you say it's not the sugars, it's the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
But what I can say, that's totally true, but the sugars make it worse.
Totally.
Like, if you're drinking a rosé at night or you're drinking, like, old fashioned for the guys that you it crushes you, and
Yeah.
so
Well, and alcohol turns into sugar, right? Like, this
yeah,
is like
it's all
th
sugar.
yeah, it turns in the thing, you know, I write about this in the book that, like, I think big alcohol's biggest coup is kind of placing alcohol in the gluten, dairy, sugar category. So this, like, nutrient category of, like, everything in moderation, rather than where it should be in the highly addictive active substance category like heroin, cocaine, meth, and I mean tobacco's not as psychoactive, but right? And so it's in that category. It's not in it, there's zero nutrients. It changes your brain immediately. So like the one glass of wine, right? Um you know, you can decide when your brain is all yours and when you're, like, fully, you know, sober, to say, like, "Tonight, I'm gonna have 1 glass of wine." Like, that's the plan. Alcohol doesn't care about your plan because the second it touches your brain, it changes it, right? It changes your decision making, your impulse control. Um,
Like Will
eh
Ferrell said in Old School,
Yeah.
"Once it touches your lips," it's just
Yes,
so good.
yes, yes. And so the brain that you're making these, like, moderation rules for or with is a different brain when alcohol touches it. And I think what this is what I realized after, because I was like a champion moderator in motherhood. Like, I was like, let's do this. That takes willpower and that takes energy, right? Anytime you have something highly addictive and you're going to have it in your life, it's going to take your energy. And so it's just I realize, and some people have that willpower, but is that worth the energy? Because you don't realize the energy that you're expending saying, like, only one, right? Just one. And then also seeing effects and also that it's highly addictive, right? And so all of that, and realizing that, like, oh, actually this, like, just one, um, it's better with none. It's not like I will forever crave a glass of wine. Like, you couldn't pay me to drink one. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out because 'cause I'm not. But so it's all that shift of like,
It's a big
okay,
shift, yeah.
it is. And that's what, like, I consider the book, I'm, like, holding your hand through it, and we're, like, talking through it. There's a thing at the end of each chapter, it's "Now it's your turn," where I'm like, "Okay, I kind of laid bare my soul with this stuff, like, now it's your turn. I ask you some questions so we can get through this together," because it is, but it's also like, man, the freedom from ever having to think about it, like, your brain opens up. I was like, "Oh my god, I never have to think about this again." It's like, a toxic relationship. Just being like, "Oh, you're never gonna change. Got it. Got it. I am." So,
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you think about it, so much of what we grew up with, going back in this conversation just to bring it full circle, was the reward mechanism. You know, if you go on
yeah.
vacation, what do you do on vacation if you don't have a drink as soon as you get to the airport or whatever it is, right?
Yes, yes.
And the same thing for sugar. You know, I grew up in
Yep.
a big Italian family and you know, everything was I couldn't walk into my grandmother's house without her saying, you want some cake? Do you want a pudding pop?" You know, like whatever it
Yeah,
was. Remember the
pudding
pudding
pop.
pops?
Yes.
And, they
Oh,
were
those were
pretty good.
so they were,
They were
like,
so
hard on
good.
the outside that,
Yeah.
like,
Dude, the
oh,
vanilla pudding pop was like
oh,
the thing.
so good.
So, they were ruined because not only was Bill Cosby
I
their
know, I
spokesperson,
know.
but
I was just
it
thinking that.
also probably was one of those awful things for you, but
Yeah.
the point is that the brain starts to, train itself to these reward mechanisms,
Yeah.
and when you're not getting them, you do feel all of my friends that are overweight and wanna get better, they literally feel like they're missing out
Yeah.
when they don't eat dessert at a
Yeah.
dinner, or when they don't buy the heavy carb meal or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
the best to your point, I'll bring it full circle, I promise, folks.
That's okay.
To your
I'm
to your
here.
point is that when you give something up and you remove it from the queue, you actually have so much more space to make the decision.
Totally.
I've done it with, dairy and gluten at times. I
Yeah.
did it for over a couple years, and, I reintroduced some things back as I learned more about my body, and there's a whole level, though, that if it's in the house, like, if
Yeah.
it's in front of me and I'm thinking about choosing whether or not I wanna eat that chocolate chip cookie or not, and by the way, I love chocolate chip cookies,
Same.
but it's something that if it's not there, I don't think about it. If I just
Right.
say I don't eat chocolate chip I gave up beer in at 40 because I was like, I can't I've never felt good when I drink beer in
Yeah.
my life. Like
Yeah.
1 or 2 beers, I've never like I could have 1 beer and still be like, "Gosh,
It's like
why do I
drinking a
feel
loaf
like
of
garbage?"
bread
It's
with
awful.
ethanol. Yeah.
And my stomach has never
Yeah.
thanked me more than giving it up. That was 7 years ago. I haven't had a s so, like,
Yeah.
once you make the shift, it's like, "Oh, I don't do that anymore," and so I could see the point in the
Yes.
shift and how the book could guide people through that. It's interesting because I bet you the same shift could be done with sugar
Totally.
and other things, so there's a lot of opportunity to help people with this message.
Yes, it's interesting because sugar's always been, like, my battle, right? And I've just, at over 5 years sober, I think around 5 years, I started to be like, "Okay, let's look at the sugar thing because how is this making me feel?" I think the difference is, like, the effects of sugar, like, I'm never gonna black out if I eat too much
Right.
sugar or
No,
get a
it's more of a
DUI.
personal hate,
Yeah.
not an external challenge where
Yeah,
other
and
people
so
are gonna
it's more
recognize it
like
either.
yeah, it's gotta be more like self-propelled, which also quitting alcohol has to be self-propelled if you unless you're, like, forced to quit, right? Which we don't wanna wait until that. And so, yeah, I think self-propelled change is tough. I think that it is first the burning down. And the burning down and the taking away, requires that discomfort, and to be like, "I am going to crave this, I'm going to want it, and I'm going to sit in that and be so uncomfortable, and I'm going to stay." And then I'm
What was
gonna go
the
dance
hardest?
it
What was
what?
the hardest? What was the hardest thing? Sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I'm curious as you're going, when you went through that,
Yeah.
what was the biggest challenge for you?
My first sober vacation, because I quit drinking well, also, I quit drinking January 19th, 2020. And
Oh,
so
that was when we all ramped up.
yes,
That was the ramp up
exactly.
period.
Right. I
A
didn't
good
know and
smart time.
yeah, like, thank God, but I had a 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 3-month-old,
Mm.
and we always go to Florida in February, and so we were going 2.5 weeks later, and I look back at that first sober vacation, and I think that that was, like that was it. If I would have drank there, I would have continued drinking because I would have proven to myself that obviously I can't do this. But being able that was the first kind of obstacle, right? Of like, all right, I normally would have wine at night with my husband and my mom. Like that would be just something habitual that we would do. And I made a conscious decision. I think that that's what it takes. You can't wait to say, "Let me see how I feel," because you know how you're gonna feel. You're gonna feel like you wanna just slip back into what you've always done, right? But I had never done a sober vacation like this. Like, I wanted to see what that could be. I shifted my focus from nighttime to my morning beach run, and I got up before everyone else and before the beach was busy, no one else was out there, and I ran and I ran and I cried and I ran, and I just kept coming back to that moment on the beach and being like, all right, again tomorrow. And I knew 1 2 glasses of wine, I wouldn't have done that. I would not. I wouldn't have been hungover, but I definitely wouldn't get up at
Well,
5:30 or
kills
6.
motivation level, 100%
Yes.
kills motivation level.
And so that vacation was, like, the first time of me saying, "I'm gonna count on myself. I'm not gonna count on alcohol to get me through this. I'm going to count on myself and see what I can do." I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't, like, flying high. I wasn't, like, super pink cloud, but I was definitely like, "Oh my god, how good does that feel that I made this commitment to myself, and now I'm returning home, and I did it." Like, okay, if I did that,
Accomplishment. Yeah, accomplishment.
yeah, if I did that, I could do okay, I could do this week at home, right? And being able to trust myself instead of kind of going back on my promise to myself. I think that that is, like, my absolute favorite thing about my sobriety is me saying, like, "No, I got you." Like, that's all we need right here. Like, I've got me. I can count on me. I can count on me to act the same way, whether I'm at a concert or at a party or, right here sitting talking to you, I'm the same. And I'm the same for my kids. Like, I'm consistent, I'm safe, and there's just alcohol just doesn't stand a chance compared to that.
How did you find the connection to your feelings? So, we talked about our generational, numbing.
Yeah.
You had to get through the first part, but then you had to start to say, you know, "How do I connect with my husband in a deeper way without having alcohol? How do I connect with my friends without going out?" And, I mean, these are real concerns
Yeah.
people have. Did you find that there was a cathartic moment? Did you find that there were things that just kind of leveled up? Or was it just like, "I feel so good because I made this decision that I just started to get more in touch with my
My
own connection?"
yeah, it's mine was a little different because it was the pandemic, and so the main feeling I had in early sobriety was overwhelm. And it was kind of a day to day, maybe like hour to hour. Okay, how am I getting through this? What do I need? Not even knowing what I need, but just make it through until my husband gets home and then
Right.
collapse. I think when I really look back at that, like, first year, sleep, when I didn't know how I felt, which was a lot of the time, when I didn't know what I needed, I always say, like, our work in sobriety is to figure out how we feel and what we need. And that takes time, right? That's like learning our own language. But when I didn't know that, which was a lot, I slept. Now remember, I had a 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 3-month-old. And so
You
I
weren't
was
sleeping a ton, but you were
yeah,
sleeping the
I
best you
was
could.
if I
Right.
wasn't sleeping, if I couldn't sleep, I was horizontal, and I was, like, doing whatever I could. Everything else just had to be just good enough. Like, they had too much screen time, good enough, because I'm prioritizing this. This is very important to me, and I need to figure this out. They need me to be okay. And so being able to, especially as a mom, being able to say, like, "Hold on, this matters. When I'm going through matters. This is really kind of sacred." So then I slept a lot. When I didn't sleep, working out really helped. Running, I've always been able to my goal was to get out of my head and into my body. I also I have OCD. And so I'm medicated for that. And so I always have a very specific relationship with my thoughts, and I know that my thoughts aren't true or real. And when I'm in my head, that can mess a lot of stuff up for me. And so generally, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or when I don't even know how I'm feeling, I need to get out of my head and I need to get into my body and start moving, take a shower, and then I can, like, kind of sort through things better. Um, Losing my dad was kind of like the feelings Olympics, right? And like, getting through that and not drinking and really just relying on myself and my ability to say, like, this, I know it feels like you're not going to get through this. Like, it feels like you're going to break into, and you won't. like, there was a clear moment when I was like, "No, I'm not going to drink through this." So, getting through that, I think, gave me perspective. I was like, "Oh, if I can get through that, I can get through social anxiety before a party, or I can
Right.
get through, like, being uncomfortable," like, "Oh, I got that." And so, like, just allowing myself to feel.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, so
Yeah.
it's a good conversation to have. I know Chris Williamson on the, Modern Wisdom podcast said that, he did 1,000 days sober, and he said that it was the biggest life improvement no one ever talks about. And
Yes.
it's such a powerful and you agree with that, obviously.
It's what's incredible about it is it's getting back to, like, factory settings. You're not adding something to your life. You're not taking a course to figure out how to be a better person, or, like, you're literally removing one thing from your life that then elevates every single part of your life. And you realize it maybe just screwed things up, and you didn't need it this whole time, and you just need yourself. Like, you didn't need a course to figure out
Right.
how to be you.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah.
So, you're doing a book tour.
I
Um,
am.
where are you gonna hit? What are the places that people can come see you, and is it already
Okay.
laid out?
Yeah, it is laid out. It's all at SuzanneWarye.com,
Perfect.
events. I can give that to you too.
Well, I
I'm
think you can follow on social media, obviously,
Yeah.
it's probably right on your Instagram page, and
It is. It kicks off, in Winnetka, Illinois, at the bookstall on September 30th. Yeah, and then I'm going to Indy, I'm going to Madison, because that's, my kind of hometown in Wisconsin, and, I'm going to Boston, I'm going to Santa Monica, I'm going to Seattle, then we have a Portland date. It's kind of all I'm trying to go all over. So, I'll be all over the place, guys. Come and see me. Yeah, if you go to that site, you'll get to, RSVP and come and meet me, and, like, I love, there's something about sober and sober curious people that it's just we're kind of bonded from the start, and it's like we see each other and we're like, "Oh, yeah, no small talk, right? Yeah, no small talk. Like, let's talk about the good stuff."
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the
Thank you.
show. I will make sure in the show notes that, we can link to the webpage and anything else that you have going on. We wish you the best of luck in the
Thank
book.
you so
We
much.
will pre-order ours so it comes in,
Yay.
and I enjoyed the conversation. It's great to talk to the edge of Gen X,
Yeah.
and talk
Yes.
about the funny things like pudding pops and cigarettes we bought at the ice cream store.
Yes, the best. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you liked it, there's more where this one came from. Click here and enjoy some more.